Welcome to the fourth week of 5 weeks in our GoPro webinar series. My name is Shawnee Nicholas. I am a solutions consultant here at ServiceNow. It's wonderful to see everyone today in whatever capacity I can. I'm going to give just a brief introduction about myself. I'll be hosting you all today, so I'm really looking forward to it. But let me go ahead and pass it over to Mohammed, who will be presenting with me. Mohammed, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, Shauna. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammed Nasir, and I am a solution consultant here at ServiceNow. And today I'll be carrying on the demonstration for the performance analytical part.
Awesome. Thank you, Mohammed. And I do just want a quick shout out to Basil Shaw. He is on as well. He'll be monitoring the chat with myself and Mohammed. So feel free to ask any questions or anything like that you all may have. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, we are in the fourth week of our GoPro webinar series, and this week we'll be talking performance analytics. Now, previously we've discussed virtual agent, predictive intelligence, workspaces, and then next week after performance analytics, we will wrap up our GoPro webinar series with continual improvement management. We've set our agenda for today around some of these things, and to accomplish these objectives that we set forth, we're going to hit each of these areas here, and we'll go through them a little bit quickly, but please, once again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So let's set the stage a little bit for today, right? With this GoPro webinar series, we've been looking to tackle this problem statement right here that we're looking to solve with ITSM Pro within our organization, right? Traditional service management really can't go fast enough for today's digital business. And it's likely that you've experienced these things within your organization, whether you're, a couple phases into your digital transformation or you're just starting out. So to start off today a little bit more, I want to start with a quick polling question. I'm going to get this in here for you all really quickly. Just kind of want to hear from folks on the line today and kind of find out, what reporting and analytics tools that you all are using. So I'm going to go ahead and let that go into the chat now. And it's an open poll, so I'll give everyone about 30 seconds to kind of answer the poll that I've provided. And I'll give everyone just a couple more, about another 15, 20 seconds. All right. So all right. So users, was everybody able to do the poll? I don't know if we were able to. Oh, I can see it kind of starting to go now. Awesome. This is excellent to see, folks. Awesome. I'll give you guys just a couple more seconds to wrap up. So a lot of what I'm seeing right now is a lot of folks are using ServiceNow, right? A little less than half, so 44% of you are using ServiceNow. This is excellent to hear. While we have this talk on our digital transformation journey, we definitely look at that phased approach, and performance analytics is involved there. I do see as well, there's some folks using Power BI, that business intelligence tool, and that 16% using Excel, PowerPoint, and the like. I've been involved in that on the implementation side, so great to see. All right, with that, I'm going to close that poll, and we're going to go ahead and keep going as we kind of move along here. So we may have seen this slide before. If you've been, to the last couple webinars, or you've utilized ServiceNow, you've seen this before, right? But it's important to understand where performance analytics fits within the platform. And it's a capability built within the platform itself, and it enhances that experience that you have within our platform between these three workflows that you see above it. So while we talk today in the context of performance analytics related to IT service management and getting that pro experience, we're really discussing it within only a single business unit of applications. So keep that in mind. And just another way to digest this information, right? Talking about performance analytics holistically within the platform, just really showing that it stretches across all of our workflows. It is a service intelligence aspect to our platform, and it's important to think about how it relates and serves you in the platform, and that's what you'll see here today. But today, as I said, we're discussing how performance analytics helps enable that digital transformation related to IT service management pro capabilities that we have on the Now platform. Performance analytics is a huge pillar in ITSM Pro, and you can kind of see where performance analytics is effective here when combined with all of the other areas in ITSM Pro, right? And things that we've discussed in this webinar series. I like to talk about the value related to performance analytics in that way because it has different benefits, right? All of these things have different benefits, but with performance analytics, the most benefit that I have found and heard back from customers with this is it's that decision-making standpoint that enables you further. So let's jump into talking about performance analytics completely, right? That modern enterprise is really a service-oriented organization, in the federal space as well. It's powered by partnerships between not only people, but the data that drive the transformation. So we're adapting to this competitive environment, and our way of working has to change. So business has to be able to establish performance-based culture and access real-time trusted data to not only track, measure, and communicate progress against objectives, but it has to happen at all levels of business. So thinking about traditional reporting and business intelligence tools, we find that they're not able to support this movement forward because they don't necessarily have the capacity to adapt to the speed of the modern business. And they really rely on measuring outcomes based on past activities. So you can see here that, with performance analytics, it's a built-in platform capability. And you have somewhere where your data is not separated from that capability. And then you can also be utilized by everyone within the platform utilizing it. So that means there's a place for every role in your organization to utilize that data and drive decision-making using that information that they have available at their fingertips. And with that, if someone can mute, I think somebody is off mute. Thank you so much. So, right, that reactive nature that we often have when approaching anything based on reporting and analytics can now become more proactive instead. Folks, if we could make sure we mute our lines, thank you so much. But instead, now we're kind of working towards that. Instead of having that reactive nature in that digital transformation journey, you're working towards that preventative nature. And on the platform, data is easy to use. It's easy to use, right? In dashboards, it's right there at your fingertips. It's extensible, so you can drill into information within these dashboards, within these reports and things like that. And then you can access it anywhere, right? So we've talked about creating the seamless analytics and reporting experience, but let's talk about kind of the methodology behind it. So performance analytics is broken down into 3 different dimensions or pillars. So in 3 different contexts, right? People, time, and influence. Now, the first one of those is people. So everyone comes with different responsibilities based on their role when it comes to meeting those mission critical goals, right? People may ask questions related to those things, but we use that shared data to drive performance in specific ways, right? For example, our executive tracks information specific to mission critical goals or organizational objectives, while our frontline worker is using different data related to efficiencies in what they do, right? Looking to create that efficient process to close tickets quicker. Data doesn't really change until you deliver on these outcomes that your team sets. So if you want to influence how people are using the data, we have to provide different information to drive that behavior in different ways. Now, the next dimension or pillar that I like to talk about with performance analytics is time. So initially during any digital transformation journey, reporting during that phase 1 in the platform is an excellent approach, right? Even in the Now platform, excellent approach. But When your organization's ready to move into those later phases of their transformation, performance analytics helps with that additional context. So you can see here, right? Reporting is that general information taken from the data. So you can see here, we speak to, hey, where are we today? Did we improve? Where were we before? And if you really look at this information, it does look as though we've improved. But performance analytics doesn't tracks and exploits current statistics and trends to tell an entire story and paint a complete picture with data. So once we start layering the information, you get a more complete story, right? So we go from where do we want to be and how do we get there? And then, when will we get there? That's the story that performance analytics looks to tell in the context of time. And then our last pillar or aspect to performance analytics is influence, right? Influencing your business and by taking those metrics and utilizing the information instead of taking, stagnant data, right, through those Excel or PowerPoint tools that we often utilize. And instead of taking that stagnant data from a point in time and driving decisions with that information that's already changed, you utilize data that's real time and influencing your business on metrics that are current. So a good way to think about influence as well is think about taking a trip, right? I have a goal. I want to go on a trip somewhere. So all of these things you have to think about when you plan out that trip. Where am I going to stay? What's the weather going to be like? How am I going to get there? But all of these things influence one another, and you look through them all when I'm making my best choice for my objective that I'm looking to achieve, which is to take a trip. So I know I rattle on just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and open the polls again. And we're going to look to do our second polling question. Sorry, give me just a second. It's asking me to save it, and I am saving. So let's go ahead and see if I can get this poll up. Okay. Going to the next one. Let's go ahead and get this up for you folks. Sorry about that. All right. I went ahead and opened it, and I'm going to go ahead and open the poll for folks to go ahead and answer. This is a trick question. What is not a differentiator between regular BI tools and performance analytics? Awesome, folks. I'll give everyone, we'll give it about another, 30 seconds or so. All right, we have just a little over half the answers. I'm going to close the poll in the next 15 seconds or so, folks. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll based on the feedback that we've received thus far. But it's looking like, majority of folks have got it right? Data utilized by performance analytics does not sit within the platform. That's incorrect because it does sit within the platform. So kudos to folks who got that right. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll and let's keep moving forward on this journey. All right. It's giving you guys a little bit more time to submit those responses as needed, but I'm going to keep moving forward. So we've talked about performance analytics, what it is. We've talked about the different aspects that make up performance analytics, but let's talk about how to measure performance analytics. And what we use is leading and lagging indicators. I've heard of this before because I've, done the whole PMP world. So, you have leading and lagging indicators in that way, but let's talk about it in this context, right? This is how we measure performance analytics. And it's pretty clear that, these things are opposite ultimately in nature. Lagging indicators always provide us with a specific metric or result. And those leading indicators always provide that path of how to get there. So keep that in mind as we go to this next slide, where we'll use a real world example, right? Weight loss. So our lagging indicators, I lost weight, right? It provides a periodic measurement to weight loss. But if you start thinking a little bit deeper to it, leading indicators look to pinpoint the method or the method that you use to get to this place. So while my main result is the weight loss, how I got there was I walked more daily. So pinpointing that action that influences the present measurement is exactly what performance analytics is all about, right? Lagging indicators, specific metric or result, those leading indicators is the path to get there. So let's give another example, right? So working backwards towards a goal or integration of different areas so we can achieve that singular result. So this is like a working example, right? That we have here. So we start with the lagging indicator or that outcome, right? That result we're looking for. We want to improve our NPS by 5 points in 90 days, right? But to do that, right, how do we get there? There's something else that we have to focus on, and that's going to be that leading indicator, the driver. How are we going to get there? Well, we need to lower mean time to resolve by 10%. So thinking in that context, right, that's a metric in itself. It's going to be its own metric. So statistically speaking, it's also a lagging indicator. But in order to get there, we also have to focus on another leading indicator, another how to get there, right? We have to avoid incidents that haven't been worked on in less than 5 days. So it's that single source of truth to determine why. And both of these indicators help us get to that performance analytics piece. So I'm going to go ahead, one last point. The leading and lagging indicators. All right. Sorry about this. It's giving me other little pop-ups. All right, let's go ahead into the poll. All right, this is my last one, I believe. Sorry about this, folks. All right, I'm opening the poll right now. I'm going to give everyone just, another 15, 30 seconds to complete this poll. And then we're going to kind of wrap up this portion before we get into the demo, right? Let's tie a bow on this final piece and aspect. Looks like, folks are, getting this right. Let's keep it going. This is awesome. Give everyone another 15 seconds. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I will go ahead and close this poll now. But it looks like majority of you got it right? What indicator contributes to performance analytics? And it's both leading and lagging indicators. You need them both, right? You need your result and you need the path to get there. All right, so I went ahead and close that poll. Let's wrap up, right? So we've talked about what performance analytics is, the different aspects that make it up, how we measure it in the platform. And the final step with implementing the chain of indicators is to really define the right visualizations for each stakeholder. So this is a way in which performance analytics functions within the platform itself. We pull data that's meaningful to each role, and then we look to provide visualizations that drive decision makings for this. So the example that I like to use is going to come from the bottom right here, right? Our frontline worker will be using Spotlight, which is something that's an in-platform mechanism that we've created, a visualization, right? Taking multiple data points on a record and gives it point values for a holistic score. So you can further rank and prioritize critical items, right? So to make sure that our frontline worker is working on the things that contribute to their overall objective, which is effectiveness, that's what Spotlight enables, right? Because they no longer have to triage and avoid triaging and prioritizing incidents because Spotlight's doing it for you based on criteria that your organization can put into place for that. One additional aspect to performance analytics, and one of the last things I just wanted to touch on briefly, was inform analytics, right? This potential new way you can utilize performance analytics to utilizing platform in the platform, right? Going directly from this form, being able to click on into additional analytics and having that information populate directly from a form, right? Having people use performance analytics in different ways. So as I said, our focus today is going to be on IT service management, and it will be related to these different areas that you see here on your screen right now in ITSM. So I hope I painted a little bit of a picture today, prior to the demo, how to bring this information on performance analytics together and really utilize it in a meaningful way. So we're going to see that a lot during the demo and that value realization, but I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Mohammed if there are no questions or anything like that needed from me. Mohammed?
Thank you so much.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing right now for you.
Sounds great. Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen right now.
Yes, I can see your screen, Mohammed, FYI.
Sounds great. Okay, so let's get started. So for today's demo, I'm going to be taking you through 3 personas, potentially 4, depending on how this goes. And it's really going to be highlighting the importance of performance analytics in general. And I really do hope I give it justice because it's a very, very powerful tool that is within our platform. So starting in with the high-level overview of the IT executives, and we all know that IT executives normally don't have enough time to be actually going on and seeing what's happening, and they are always constantly asking for feedbacks on the performance of the entire organizations, things like that. And these things can take time, and usually they like to see everything in real time without having to wait for the data to be generated. So to start off this, I am overviewing the dashboard for the IT executive, where we can see things about the general organization and its performance. So for example, if we are looking at the service availability within my organization, I can see that it's currently at 99.3%, and we do have a target for it, and we still haven't met that target. That's why the number is currently in red. That does not mean it's bad. It just means that we are still not up to the target that we put initially. On top of that, I can see the trend from where our service availability going. So I can see with the graph where it's currently at, how it has changed into the past. And on top of that, I can see the trend line of if it's going up versus it's going down. Now, if I wanted to filter that information out and just wanted to see the availability over time, I also have the option to do so. Now, if I wanted to focus on a little bit more details about things, for example, like the customer experience in general, I can look at that from the health score perspective. And looking at this graph, it's also in red, which indicates that we are still not at the target goal that we have put in. I can see that our performance is going up. And if I look down over here, I have the indicators from which we've gotten this information. So the aggregated data from all of these information has generated this score of 49, which means that we are kind of working toward the objective that we put in at the beginning of the quarter, and we are getting there through these different indicators. And this is just the overview for someone who is an executive who really doesn't want to go too much deeper into the details to know what is happening with his organization. Now I'm going to be taking you through another perspective, which is the perspective of a manager who is just managing a bunch of workers, and he wants to see their performance and how he can improve on that potentially. For that, I am going to be going to the incident process owner. From here, I can see things like the total number of open incidents within my organization versus the first call resolution and the mean time to respond. And I can see that the first call resolution is actually improving, which kind of ties with the mean time to response. If first calls are going up, that would mean that mean time resolution hopefully would be going down. If I wanted to get more details about the specific graph, I can click into it. And from here, I can see the trend line by simply clicking into here. So rather than just seeing the data and how it changed over time, I also have the option of seeing the trend line and where we are going potentially. On top of that, I can see the target line, which means that this is the target line or where we are hoping to go with this specific graph. Now, if I've noticed some outliners over here, for example, on May 10, I noticed that the number is going way higher than it should, and I needed to do some further investigation for someone else, or if I just wanted to keep it for my own personal record, I can go ahead and add in a comment over here that maybe we launched a new software on that day, or maybe we just had a service outage on that day, and that's why the number has gone up that much. Now, on top of that, from these graphs, if I've seen that the target line is not meeting the trend line and I actually want to create some sort of an improvement on it, I can go ahead and initiate a continuous improvement right from here, which is going to be the topic of next week's webinar. So I'll leave that to then. And if I wanted to dig deeper and see the records that generated this specific graph, I can go ahead and see these records. If I wanted to modify this list view to show me some of the information that are needed for my own personal role, for example, if the approval set is not important to me because usually I'm the one who does the approval, I can just remove that. And these are the things that are actually going to help me make better decisions. Now, if I wanted to focus more on the performance of some of the things, like for example, the priority, I can go into the breakdowns and focus just solely on the priority, which gives me a much better visual graph on the different priorities that we've had in the past. So I can see how many of these were in the planning state, high, moderate, low, critical, and etc. So I'm always on top of that. And if I wanted to compare, for example, our current quarter performance versus our last quarter or even last year's quarter, I can do that right from here, which again is a great option to have. Now, the other view that I wanted to take you through would be the service worker view, which is how we can prioritize our work and how we can actually look at our own personal performance and how we can potentially improve that. So if I am just a service desk worker and I really don't know what I should be working on and I need to prioritize my work, going into this dashboard, I can see the total number of priority 1 and priority 2 incidents that are within my organization. So if I needed to just work on that, I have the option to do so. If I wanted to see out of all of the open incidents I have, how many are in the different state that they are in. So if I have, for example, a goal that has been set out from my manager to focus on the one that are in a high state, I can just from this graph click into high and go to these specific incidents. And if I wanted to prioritize my work even more, I can go into this prioritize work tab where I am seeing all of the information about the incidents that I have within my organization that I can work on or I've worked on in the past. So for this example, this is the trend line of what is currently happening with our incidents. I can see that the mean time to response is actually reflected over here and the average age is also reflected over here. So if we filter that out, and we looked at the back look, we can see that it's actually potentially going down, which is a good thing. But if we added in the mean time to respond, we can see that it's kind of following that same trend, while the average age is in fact going up, which means that rather than just solving these incidents, we are opening up these incidents and not actually getting them to solve. So even though the graph has potentially shown us that we've improved our performance, it kind of is, once we dig even deeper into it, we kind of find out that there is a lacking aspect into that where we are actually keeping incidents more open more than they should have been. Now, on top of that, I have the score over here for all of the incidents, which is the spotlight score. So if you can see over here, I have for this specific incident a score of 1,475. If I wanted to dig deeper into the score and know how exactly we've generated this number, we can see that for example, if an open incident hasn't been updated for more than 30 days, then it gains 1,000 score. If an incident or older than 28 days, it gains 25 score and etc. So depending on that, we can kind of give a quantitative value into these incidents to know how is our performance. Now, I want to take you through one of these incidents to see how we can utilize the performance analytics from within a specific incident. So for example, if we looked at this incident and my manager has came to me and asked me, when are we going to potentially solve this incident? Or if I need this customer has contacted me personally and I need to give them an answer. For example, given that this has been assigned to the sales system support, I can click into here, and from here I can generate answers to them. Like, for example, when is the expected time for this incident to close? I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds to load. Apologies for my internet connection has not been the best. Okay, moving on. So from this, I can just get this information just to help answer these questions faster. Yep, here we go. So as you can see, I can actually look into similar incidents that has been assigned to this group in the past. And from this, I can give my customer or my manager a better response. For example, knowing that the expected time for a resolution that has been assigned to this specific group in the past has taken 8.12 days, then I can go ahead and tell them that hopefully this would be resolved in 8.12 days. Now, going back into the IT executive view, I wanted to kind of focus your attention on something. As we all know, sometimes the executives have a better understanding of what's going on the top level, and they kind of want to generate some reporting onto that. So rather than actually going on and asking the manager to generate these reports for them, they can go ahead themselves into these dashboards and actually focus the reporting tools on the elements that make sense to them. For example, if they wanted to report on just the help desk within the organization rather than the entire organization performance, then they kind of can filter that information right from here rather than actually going on and asking the help desk to generate that information for them. If they wanted to focus on the network within the organization, they also have the option to do so. So rather than looking at the entire organization, we can focus our reporting tools into specific departments and specific groups to know how their current performance is. If they need to, for example, hire more people into that department, they can do so right by looking at graphs like these to see how their performance is and how they can improve it. I believe someone has their mic on. If you can please mute that. Now, the last thing I wanted to demonstrate was the admin console for performance analytics. So if you are the person who is actually in charge of these data and these different dashboards, then you have the option to do so from here, where you can actually look at your content, see if there are any issues with the diagnostics, are there any failed jobs and how you can actually resolve them. You have this admin console where you can potentially see where are the issues and help solve them. Now, this really sums up the demo part for performance analytics. And again, I really didn't do it justice because it's a very powerful tool. And the more you dig deeper into it, the more value you hopefully are going to generate out of it. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mohammed. I'm going to go ahead and start screen sharing again, folks. And we just have a couple more things to go through. We're going to do a Q&A section really quickly. Let me just go ahead and play from the current slide. Right, so we got into that demo. Mohammed, that was excellent. Thank you so much for taking folks through. And once again, feel free at any time to come off mute if you have any questions at this time. We're more than happy to answer any of them. I know this is an information overload about performance analytics, but really happy that folks have joined and are here with us today. So let's talk next steps, right? What do we do now that we know all of this information regarding performance analytics? So we have a few performance analytics resources, specifically with customer success team, where they publish all sorts of resources that you can get into. So you can totally look to socialize that with your team. We also have a success playbook, right? It's a longer, more detailed document in the Customer Success Center, where it lays out these strategies for leveraging performance analytics as well. I've checked it out. It's pretty cool. Additionally, we have a free course on Now Learning Performance Analytics Fundamentals, which I'm sure everybody kind of knows it all now. I think, Mohammed and I crushed it, and you may not need to take fundamentals, but in case you do, it is available for folks. We also have the ServiceNow community, right? You have different folks utilizing ServiceNow where you can ask questions and collaborate there. And we have the ability to test it out, right? So you can get a personal developer instance on ServiceNow.com, and you can kind of play with the ServiceNow tool a little bit more, and you can mess with data, a little dummy data, and things like that. Very fun. I've done it myself. So with that, we're going to go ahead and open it up to Q&A. I really encourage folks to come off mute if you have any questions. So I'm going to leave the floor open just for, a few more minutes so we can ask those questions. But did somebody come off mute? Oh, okay. So I do want to mention, one more time, next week we are wrapping up our GoPro series with continual improvement management. So I do want to let folks know it's on a different day. I know it says, I think Wednesday, but I believe Thursday is 11/12. I could be wrong. So with that, I want to leave the line open for some Q&A, and we'll kind of let you all trickle out if needed. But I want to thank everybody for joining the GoPro webinar series regarding performance analytics today. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for Q&A.